Hi, I'm Willem, and today we're talking about something that everyone can relate to. Relationships, and how sometimes there can be stress in our relationships. Like if you're fighting with your friends, or your siblings, or just someone who's close to you. But we're also looking at how we can clear the air and mend those relationships. Let's watch this God story and see if Jacob can reconcile with his brother Esau.
So do you remember Jacob? He was the grandson of Abraham. Hi everyone, my name is Jen, and it's great to be with you again today. I want to tell you a story about my brother Jonathan and I when we were kids. We loved to play video games together. We would stay up sometimes all night on a Friday night playing, but it wasn't always happy times. See, my brother and I, both of us are kind of sore losers, and so there are times when one of us would really be beating the other one that we would get really mad. In fact, my brother would sometimes even turn the video game off if I was beating him. That would make me pretty angry. And once or twice, my mom and dad came downstairs and said, look, if you guys are gonna keep fighting, we're taking this away from you. But this story reminds me of today's big idea, that God's peace can heal relationships. Do you remember Jacob? He was the grandson of Abraham, the son of Isaac. He tricked his dad into giving him the blessing that was supposed to go to Esau, so then Esau got mad, Jacob ran away. He had this crazy dream where God said he would be with him wherever he went. Yeah, that Jacob. Well, his story continues. So Jacob moved on from the place where he dreamt and heard from God. He met up with his uncle Laban, and there he got married. He had 11 sons and 1 daughter. Now, I can only imagine the number of fights that would happen if you had 11 siblings. That would be crazy. So God told Jacob to return to the land of his father. So with his entire family, they picked up and started to head home. But on the way, Jacob had a realization. He thought, oh no, the land of my father, this is where Esau is. Is he still mad? How's he gonna react? And so this would be a pretty scary situation to walk into. So we're gonna see what happens in Genesis 32 and see how God's peace can heal relationships. Jacob also went on his way. The angels of God met him. Jacob saw them. He said, this is the army of God. Jacob sent messengers ahead of him to his brother Esau. Esau lived in the land of Seir. It was also called the country of Edom. Jacob told the messengers what to do. He said, here's what you must tell my master Esau. Your servant Jacob says, I've been staying with Laban. I've remained there until now. I have cattle and donkeys and sheep and goats. I also have male and female servants. Now I'm sending this message to you. I hope I can please you. The messengers came back to Jacob. They said, we went to your brother Esau. He's coming now to meet you. He has 400 men with him. Now in these days, if somebody was coming at you with 400 men, that usually meant they wanted to fight. I would be really freaked out. Then Jacob prayed, you are the God of my grandfather Abraham. You are the God of my father Isaac. Lord, you are the one who said to me, go back to your country and your relatives, then I will give you success. You have been very kind and faithful to me, but I'm not worthy of any of this. Please save me from the hand of my brother Esau. I'm afraid he'll come and attack me. If I was in this situation like Jacob was, I would have told my whole family to pick up and run the other way. I would have been so scared that Esau was coming to get me. So when he didn't know what else to do, when he was afraid, Jacob prayed. And this is a really good example for us too. When we're not sure what to do next, when we're in a difficult situation, we can reach out to God because he knows exactly what to do and we can talk to him. And his peace can heal relationships. This is exactly what happened with Jacob and Esau. So Jacob sent ahead of him and his family a messenger with a huge gift of goats, sheep, camels, cows, and donkeys as a gift for Esau in hopes that Esau might forgive him. So Jacob then moved his family and all of his property across the Jabbok River, and he camped there alone that night. During the night, he had an incredible encounter with God. You should really read about it later. And in that encounter, God changed his name from Jacob to Israel. So here's what happens next. Jacob sets out and sees Esau, his brother, coming towards him with 400 men. Again, this would be a real freak out moment, but let's read what happens in the Bible. But Esau ran to meet Jacob. He hugged him and threw his arms around his neck. He kissed him and they cried. So how cool is that? Jacob prayed for the best, expected the worst, but God totally came through. This story shows us that God's peace can heal relationships. So my brother and I, as I said at the beginning, we fought over video games. Now that's not nearly as big of a deal as stealing a blessing from your brother. But I'm really happy to say that my brother and I, even though we argued when we were kids, we're still really good friends today. As Jesus followers, we are constantly reminded of the peace that Christ offers, and we can know that God's peace can heal relationships. So we can see it in Jacob's story, and we can pray that it will be true in our story as well. Well, it's been great hanging out with you guys today. I'm actually gonna go and get some lunch, so I'll see you next time.
Hey, turn to the person next to you. Willem! Willem!
And answer the questions before the time runs out.
Question time. Who is your Esau? In other words, is there someone you should go to ask for forgiveness? Or is there someone you should forgive? What are you waiting for?
Jacob messed up badly with the relationship with his brother, and it was God's peace that brought the brothers back together after all that time. Let's join our friends and listen in on their discussion about relationships and what they experienced.
All right, so we've been having fun today, but I want to move into a little bit more serious topic. Growing up, I had some tough stuff to go through. Sometimes it was a physical thing, so I hurt myself somehow, but other times it was more with relationships, so people or friends would hurt me. So I wanted to know what you guys have experienced and if you've been able to talk to anybody about it or how you've handled it. So would anybody like to share?
So when I moved schools, it was pretty hard for me. I just moved schools recently and it was for the 5th grade, but it was really hard and the first day was not the greatest. I was just kind of that kid who would just shy away from the crowd, who would just, just like that kid who would just feel sorry for himself. I didn't want to be that kid. I wanted friends, but I couldn't really find any. And then I just went to school the next day and I had a load of homework when I came back, and it was really stressful. It was new teachers, new learning, and new people in community overall. It was really hard, and I felt stressed because of the homework and stressed that I had no friends. I felt anxious about all of it. Eventually, it spilled out. I got angry at my parents. I shouted at them. I was anxious. I didn't want to talk to anyone, and I just asked God to help me. I prayed and prayed and prayed. I tried to find scriptures in the Bible that would help, and then just one day, out of the blue, I flip open my agenda that I'm gonna sign and write down all my notes in, and there it is. There's the answer. There, it was just there in my face. It was anger and anxiety is like a remote. You can turn it on and you can turn it off. There's many buttons that you can control it with, but it's your choice. Turn it on or turn it off. If you turn it off, it can be very good, or it can just be balanced. But if you keep on turning it on, it's not healthy for you. And when I heard that, I just felt relieved. God was telling me to do this. It was right in front of me, and I felt so relieved. And I thank God for it every day. So yeah.
That's awesome. Thanks for sharing, Max. It's cool how God is able to, when we talk to him and we are open and honest with him, he will speak to us in ways that maybe we don't expect, but they usually always help, which is really encouraging.
Yeah.
So thanks for sharing. Yeah, like our cases, Jesus went through the same stuff. He had both physical pain and relational pain. So on one of his toughest nights, he asked his friends to stay up and pray with him, but they ended up falling asleep. And then when he was in trouble, they ran away and abandoned him. When he was on the cross and in physical pain, people would spit on him and they made fun of him. So Jesus knows what it feels like to be in pain. He knows how it feels to be physically in pain and emotionally and relationally in pain. And so he's somebody we can talk to because he understands and he wants to be able to help us and walk with us through those tough times. All right. So who wants to get some pizza?
Me.
Awesome.
Maxim didn't use the word peace, but you can clearly see he received God's peace when he prayed and received a clear message about his situation. If you're having problems with your relationships, whether that's at school or at home, just pray to God and pray for his wisdom and his peace, and you know that God will help you out. Let's break into our small groups and see what this looks like in our lives.